century ago.
Wow, that's crazy, isn't it? This is Jackson. A great punt return. A couple of good kick returns tonight, too, and he gets it past the 30-yard line. Mike, of course, was at Colorado State for 5 years and came back to this coast to be the offensive coordinator for his great friend Will Muschamp this year. And I can tell you that he is just as upset as anybody that it didn't work for Will here at South Carolina and that he was pressed into being the interim head coach. He, like the rest of us that have been around Will for a long time, think the world of him. I'm sure he's watching tonight. 1st and 10 with the carry to Edwards. And Edwards will get a few. And Mike said he wants to continue to be an offensive coordinator. He wants to continue to call plays in college football, no matter where that is next year.
Well, a guy can coordinate offense, there's no doubt. I mean, his offense is, you look back to his years in Georgia, the numbers speak for themselves. There's no doubt that he can coach and he can recruit as well. Will never likely be felt here in South Carolina. The short stay certainly didn't go the way they intended. We have a ton to work with coming into this season. Had some opt-outs at receiver, especially Trey Smith and Lucas Davis choosing not to play. Shi Smith really the only known piece, although we've seen Nick Muse emerge this season. We're losing Marshawn Lloyd.
Let's run that clock down, baby. Run that clock down.
Running back lost him to an ACL in preseason. Just derailed that season, especially offensively.
Well, you know how much Coach Muschamp cares about all these guys that he recruited.
And Falk coming in.
It's just a pleasure to work with, really. Throughout his tenure as a head coach at Florida and South Carolina. I wish him well in the future. Edwards looking good here in the 4th quarter, and he bounces it up to the 45-yard line. Now, for who will be next here in Columbia, they've already started that process, interviewing candidates. And they've had several conversations. In fact, they've had one with Shane Beamer, the Oklahoma assistant head coach who worked in the Southeastern Conference, of course, worked in Virginia Tech as well. Jamie Chadwell.
Chadwell ain't leaving Coastal Carolina. They winning.
Billy Napier has ties to the area. Hugh Freeze at Liberty's having a great
Shane Beamer ain't leaving Oklahoma.
Army head coach. Of course, that's Todd Monken, the Georgia offensive coordinator's cousin.
See, I don't know. Jeff Monken might come.
Thinking about 2nd and 2. Edwards gets the first down. What do you think that South Carolina should be looking for?
Well, I know what they've said they're looking for. Ray Tanner came out and said, we're a head coach that's offensive-minded. Or at least make a higher.
See, you keep Jim Chaney as your offensive coordinator and get a good coach in there. Y'all can probably do something.
Anything else. So we've seen this.
Jim Chaney can do something to that offense. You just gotta have the weapons on that South Carolina offense to do something.
We really want.
But with all y'all key players opting out or getting injured, y'all ain't gonna be able to do shit.
That program's a different program under him. You can tell, obviously, here on the heels of the Steve Spurrier era, it wasn't going to be easy. It's the most successful head coach that this program's ever seen. I think about 3 11-win seasons. You win the division in 2010. You beat Clemson, 5 years in a row? That's going to be really tough to replicate.
And got his ass whooped by Grayson Lambert in 2015 to make him retire. 52 to 20. They don't talk about that. Y'all want to talk about last year, but y'all don't talk about Grayson Lambert lining y'all ass up in 2015.
But there's no doubt the challenge is different here now. When Will Muschamp got here, when Steve Spurrier was coaching here, from a facility standpoint,
Georgia made Steve Spurrier retire. He was like, fuck that, I can't go up against a team like this.
Bringing in recruits and even functioning as a program. That's not the case anymore. They've got fantastic facilities here in South Carolina.
Edwards is running hard. The Dogs are over 300 yards rushing now. Tonight's first
over 300 yards rushing.
Beginning of the 2019.
From my recollection, that's more than 8 yards.
The director decides on, but Shane Beamer was here when Steve Spurrier had that success, at least for several of those years.
Coached at Georgia with Kirby Smart for some years before he joined Lincoln Riley out in Oklahoma. No head coaching experience for Shane Beamer. And you wonder how big of a box is that for Ray Tanner and President Caslen here in South Carolina to be able to check. Kirby Smart, of course, had never been a head coach before he came to Georgia.
Edwards all drive long, and it's another first down inside the 25-yard line. Kirby's now all of a sudden has a little bit of a coaching tree.
Yeah, you think Mel Tucker goes to Colorado for a season, bounces up to Michigan State.
Beat Northwestern today.
Huge victory for Sparty. Wow. And the Big Ten, Ohio State sitting at home again this week.
Ohio State ain't making it into the college football playoffs if they keep canceling games.
Shane Beamer getting booked.
They can't get in with 5 games, maybe 7.
Here in the SEC as well.
Play after play is Edwards, who now has 11 carries on the night. Georgia has over 310 yards as a team.
310 yards rushing.
See Edwards pointing over there to the sideline. Hey, does anybody else want to get in here? He don't have a ton of carries, but
he got all 8 on this drive before he goes out here.
It's starting to wear out. A young player, you don't want to make too much of a habit of that. You see Kirby Smart coming over there.
Hell no, if you got good enough and elite running backs, you switch them out.
He'll go to the bench here and bring in another tailback down to the 13.
Offensive line just moving.
Tackled there after a gain of a few.
That's Prather Hudson.
Yeah, Prather Hudson, who's played some defensive back, is now going to play some tailback as a graduate player.
I ain't never heard of him pray for Hudson.
All smiles over on the sideline. They got in there. Edwards come over there, get their water, get away, get back out on the field. Prather Hudson, I think, was the one that ran into Laura Rutledge a couple of years ago while she was doing a sideline cover.
Oh yeah, I do remember that when they were doing a Georgia play, they ran into one of the announcers and shit.
Gets down to the 10. All right, let's take a look at the 5-star play of the game brought to you by Yellowwood.
Well, there have been some big plays in this game, there's no doubt. But as a former O-line guy, that one's my favorite. Mainly because the hole was just so darn tight.
Hole was too wide open like Kim Kardashian.
Carrying the football. Could have been anybody. Alyssa Lang could have scored on that one. Of course, she's a tremendous athlete. I have no doubt the hole wouldn't need to be that big, but that was a really well-blocked play by the Georgia offense.
She showed off some speed last year on the road. We traveled together.
Touchdown.
Inside the 5, down to the 3.
All right. Nice run.
No, I think she won the race.
I think that everybody was pulling for her. She said it was a tie.
Them cockroaches coming to roost.
Seemed to look like it was a tie. She was friendlier.
Gamecocks coming to roost. Them Georgia Bulldogs done cooked them. Use those 11 herbs and spices to make some South Carolina Kentucky chicken.
Trying to do our best to be healthy and safe. But it certainly has come at a cost for our traveling band. 3rd and 1.
Come on, let's get this touchdown, baby.
The Edwards show continues. Down near the goal line to the 1. And it'll be 1st and goal. We'll see if that will be that. If Kirby wants to let Edwards finish this drive off, I don't think Mike Bobo would have a problem.
Nah, give him a touchdown.
Let him do that. Or simply take a knee.
Oh, they're going to take a knee, man. Come on now.
The class that Kirby Smart had.
I would have been kicking their ass after last year. But we'll take this win, though. Revenge game. Dogs on top. 45-16. Stumping these cockroaches.
16, the final time.
Woo!
Number 9 Georgia improves to 6-2 on the season with a decisive victory.
Domination, revenge.
Old friends, former teammates.
JT Daniels, Christ, Machiavelli.
JT Daniels, a fantastic debut.
Running backs had a tremendous game.
Here tonight on what was a
Dominating game.
performance by the Georgia offense.
Got more than 8 yards this week.
Carolina roster just decimated not only by injury, opt-outs.
All right, end of the game. Dogs on top by 29.
Yards rushing, and he ended the game.
I'll be getting my full analysis on the game and my thoughts on the game next week.
Literally just draining it down. But that was the story of the night, and it started early. Had a couple of big explosive plays on that opening possession, but then very quickly, the Georgia rushing attack that did not even.
They couldn't stop the running attack. We had to throw the ball like that. You know, the running game just took over. You know, South Carolina had too many injuries. You know.
At the end of this one, it's a rivalry. There's no doubt. After last year,
a lot of these kids played together in high school too. I mean, with all the South Carolina kids that are from the state of Georgia that Will Muschamp recruited. Back for more in just a moment as the Dogs beat the Gamecocks 45-16.
Whoop them Boone Chickens' ass.